Hope everybody's doing really well today. So I'm here to do another newly released coloring books video, and today I'll be focusing on Coco. If you're not familiar, Coco is a publishing company, so they do work with a variety of different artists. And the reason that I'm doing a whole video about the new Coco releases is because there's just so many. I was going to do like a regular newly released video, and then I realized I couldn't because there was just so many Coco books, right? So I'll do this video, and then I'll also do like a regular newly released video in the near future. But while chit-chatting to you, I'll be coloring in my new Hannah Carlson book. So this is her newest release. It's like Tales from the World in the Sky, something like that. It's definitely not the correct translation, but I do have a full flip of this book in case anybody's interested. So I did pick out this page to work on. I'm trying really hard not to hit my camera stand thing. And yeah, it's going to be my first page in this book, my first ever Hannah Carlson page as well. So super excited. And I figured I could start working on the bricks. And because I'm from Boston, in my opinion, the bricks have to be like a red, like a deep red. So I picked out some Brute Funners. And yeah, so let's dive on into the new coloring books from Coco. So the first one that I have pulled up is called Mushroom Forest Mushroom Coloring Book. And when I saw this, I was a little bit confused because I know, whoops, that's great. I know they have other mushroom coloring books, right? I think they have two other ones. I think there's like Mushroom and Mushroom 2. I could be wrong, but I could have sworn that they already had mushroom coloring book. But anyways, they have another one, but this one is all about the forest. So when you go onto Amazon, which by the way, everything will be linked down below, you can see the back cover, which shows you a preview of 6 of the pages from the book. And it looks really interesting, but you obviously have to be a fan of coloring mushrooms, which is kind of self-explanatory based on the title of the book, of course. But the backgrounds are black, which I think is cool. So if you use some vibrant colors on the mushrooms, they will just pop right off the page. There are also some butterflies. I also see like a little snail. So it's definitely really, really interesting. But again, you obviously have to be a fan of coloring mushrooms. And if this book sounds interesting, but not exactly is your cup of tea, again, I'm pretty sure they have 2 other mushroom books. So maybe it's worth also checking out those. Or if you have this one and you really enjoy it, they, I think, also have 2 other ones. So worth checking out. And the book is currently $6.79 in euros. So I don't know, maybe $7.99 in US dollars. But please don't quote me on that. And this was released March 8th, which is the International Women's Day. So happy belated Women's Day to all the ladies, right? So, and it says, beautiful fungi are waiting to be colored. All right, great. Moving on to the next one. And this was also released March 8th. So I guess March 8th was a busy time for them. Also $6.89, and it's called Mandalas Spell. Which sounds odd. But this book has both black and white backgrounds. Again, you can see the preview of 6 of them. And it has mandalas, as promised. However, they do have kind of like a witchy vibe to them. And I think that's the spell part of the title. So it is interesting that they have both black and white backgrounds, because obviously that will definitely impact how the mandala appears when it's finished. And then also all of them are like framed in, which is an interesting choice by the artist, but also a choice that I support. I feel like a lot of us really, really enjoy a good framed in picture. me included. Like, I wish this was framed in, because like, let's be honest, like coloring that is going to be very difficult, besides the point. So it looks interesting. It looks really, really interesting. I'm not a big like witchy, spelly kind of gal, so I don't know if I'll be grabbing this one, but if you are, this would be a cool one. Or if you like mandalas, and you just wanted to branch out to something a little bit more unique, this would be a good one. I have to say, I'm not loving how these pencils are looking, because they're looking extra scratchy on this paper. That's interesting, because again, I don't really know what this paper is good with and what it isn't, because as I mentioned, this is my first ever page, but that's fine. And description: get ready for some magic spells coloring. Oh my. And then there's 40 mandalas. They're all single-sided, and there's no duplicates. So I think that's universal for all of their books. I haven't seen a single Coco book with duplicates yet, and I've done a lot of these videos. So up until now, all of them have been, at least the ones that I've seen, have been with no duplicates. So moving on to the next one, and this is one of their newer ones, and it was released March 21st, and it is called In Circle. So this reminds me kind of a simple down version of like, what is it, Circle of Life, right? That book is gorgeous. Or also maybe like the miniatures books, not the miniatures books, but you know when Camelia Angelkova did the themed mandalas, like she had the autumn mandalas, winter mandala, so it was like a circle with like an image in the middle. Basically, that's what this is. And again, there's a combination of black and white backgrounds. However, the background is inside of the circle. So the outside of the circle, so the rest of the page, is going to be white. But it looks interesting. I can see there's some like landscapes. There's a really cute little rabbit surrounded by a little wreath. So the circles are not just like a plain traced around circle. They also have a design to them. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, and I'm definitely getting very similar, kind of similar feelings as the Camelia Angelkova, the themed mandalas that she used to do. She hasn't done one of those in a while, has she? Like she had the seasonal mandalas. Did she have other ones? I don't know, because I feel like a lot lately she's been focusing on the miniature books, right? Nothing wrong with that. Those are super duper cute. Now I'm just going to do a wee bit of blending, and hopefully I can fix the scratchiness of all of this. But let's read the little description. It says, let's see the world through circles. Did you have a bad day? Do you want to color images that ease your mind and help you feel at peace? Then this is the book for you. Oh my. Again, 40 illustrations, single-sided, and again, combination of black and white backgrounds within the actual circle. So if you have been maybe wanting the Circle of Life, but it's a bit intimidating, maybe check this one out. Or if you have the Camelia Angelkova themed mandala books that she used to do and you wanted something similar, here is your chance. Looks interesting. I don't know if I'll be snagging this one up. To be honest, it looks a little simplistic for my taste, but since it doesn't have a crazy amount of details and they're single-sided, it would be a good one for alcohol markers. So to all of you out there that love a good alcohol marker page, here's another coloring book for it. I'm actually really disliking on how this is looking. Oh no. I've never had an issue with Brute Funners not working on papers, like different coloring books. So this is interesting. Well, we'll work on it. You live and you learn, right? The next book is one that I've actually added to my wish list, and it is called Midnight Spring. and it was released March 14th. This is what I mean by like, they've just released so many things that it was really hard for me to not do a separate video for them. But basically, this book has only black backgrounds, so that's the midnight part of the title. And then it has a lot of very different images. Like, I was surprised. So, for example, there's a picture of flowers, right? And I don't know if it's a bee, a hornet. I'm in no way an expert. I guess it's a bee. I don't know. There's some sort of flying insect in the picture too. So there's images like that that are very plant garden kind of theme. But then there's also a picture of like a couple dancing, like in like a fancy dress, like very fancy. And then of course they're surrounded by flowers, but still I was kind of surprised by how different those two images were. And I mean, that's great, right? You don't want the same thing over and over again. So that was interesting. There's also a picture of like a girl smelling, or woman, excuse me, smelling a flower. So there's definitely a range of what you're going to get from this book. There's also a picture of a ballerina dancing like on a flower or a pedestal surrounded by flowers. So definitely a range of images, but all of them do picture some sort of greenery or florals. I don't know why I started over that, but I guess that's the spring aspect of it, right? So it's definitely an interesting one and definitely a unique one in my opinion. So if you wanted kind of a range of pictures with a black background that all focus on some sort of greenery or, you know, kind of the world waking up after winter time, then maybe check this one out. It is $6.86, again, in euros. I feel like their books are usually all either the same price or similar priced. I don't know if they ever do introductory pricing. Maybe they do. I live in Germany, and Germany has some laws regarding book sales and like what prices books can be. It's hard to explain, but basically a book has to be the same price regardless of where you buy it in Germany. That's a different topic, but that includes coloring books. So yeah, maybe in the US they do some sort of sales, but in Germany it is forbidden. All right, moving on, we have, it's called Beauties Breeze. I have to say, some of the names for these books just kind of seem like two random words tossed together, just in my humble opinion. Also, I apologize if you hear noises. Somebody's wheeling what I think is a suitcase in the hallway outside of my apartment. But anyways, this book has an stunning lady on the front, and she has really cool hair because it's made up of like pastel colored flowers and Zentangly looking doodads. And this was also released March 8th and currently $6.89. So this book has only white backgrounds, and each image has a stunning lady. I don't think there's any men in this book, at least based on the back cover. I only see ladies. And they all are surrounded by flowers or like a Zentangly motif. Is it called paisley? Please, that could be wrong. But it looks interesting. It definitely looks like something you could either use markers on, like more of a fine tipped marker, colored pencils. And it also gives you an opportunity to work on coloring skin tones and hair, but then you still have the added fun of being able to color like wacky floral designs and stuff. So another interesting release from them. Yeah, I guess March 8th was just busy for everybody involved. But let's see if there's a description. I love these like little pitch lines. Do you want to unleash your creativity with exclusive images of beautiful ladies in breezy designs? Are you searching for a fun and unique way to calm your overstressed mind and embrace the magic of coloring? Then this book is for you. Again, 40 images, single-sided, you know the drill. But yeah, I love these little intro paragraphs. You know, they're very, I don't want to say emotional, like emotion provoking, right? I don't know. It just makes me think of like a car salesman. Like, this is the car for you. Sorry, I've had a lot of coffee. Moving on to another book. And this is an older one. It's from February 23rd, which sounds like it was just yesterday, but I guess March is almost over at this point, at least when I'm filming this. And the book is called Beauties in Fairyland. So I guess this title actually makes sense. And the cover is stunning, absolutely beautiful. And as promised, it has variety of creatures in Fairyland. So I guess all of them may be fairies, but I don't know. Maybe there's other creatures hanging out in Fairyland. But combination of black and white backgrounds, and it has beautiful ladies. Some of them have wings, but not all of them. And there's some flowers pictured. There's some like butterflies. So definitely a whimsical book. And another one that you can definitely have the material to practice your, skin tones, your hair coloring, which I know for me is a weak point. I'm very not skilled at coloring hair. So if you are on the hunt for an affordable book where you can practice hair and skin and have just a whimsical time, then 'tis the book for you. And again, since they're single-sided, you can use alcohol markers. I know that's a technique that I've been really working on lately, is being able to lay a base down with an alcohol marker and then going over it with pencils for additional shading. But yeah, what do y'all think of these bricks? I'm not convinced, to be honest. We'll see. I'm not loving how these pencils are laying down on this paper, which is surprising because this is very nice paper. Don't know what that's about, but we'll figure it out. Then moving on to the next book, and this is also an older one, and it's from February 22nd, and it's called Stress Relief Flowers. White backgrounds only, and it is, because some of the images I want to say are mandala-like, in the sense that it's kind of like a symmetric image and repeating. Some are more unique, like flower, just, not repeating. They all appear to be framed in at least a little bit. So I enjoy the fact that they're kind of carrying through the framing from book to book. Highly appreciate it. And that's kind of it. I mean, it's really interesting flowers. Not all of them look realistic. Some of them do. Some of them definitely look like, it was at the artist's discretion of what they look like, which nothing wrong with that. I know, for example, Johanna Basford has, never been secretive about the fact that her flowers in her books are made up. And I honestly couldn't care less. I love Johanna Basford's floral book or any florals that she does in any other book. So at least for me, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment. But if you're somebody that only wants to color authentic looking flowers, this might not be the book for you. But if you're okay with some non-authentic looking flowers, this could be an interesting one. And again, I have to commend them on having a range of images, so it's not just like the same thing repeated over and over again. You can definitely see distinct differences from page to page. Again, somebody's rolling a suitcase in the hallway. I think it's a suitcase. Actually, there was somebody moving out, a couple apartments down the hallway from me, so maybe that's why there are so many rolling noises. Moving on to the next one. Oh, I guess this is the oldest one so far. It's from February 15th, of course, of this year, and it's called Treehouse. And shockingly, it has tree houses and white backgrounds only. And it just features a bunch of different looking tree houses. So yes, you're gonna have trees, you're gonna have greenery, and then you're also gonna have houses. That's basically all I can say about this book. It is a more detailed one. So I think it's the most detailed one yet, since I started talking about, like, the most, sorry, I'm making no sense. It's the most detailed one so far in this video. There we go, I was able to produce a solid sentence. And that's kind of it. I don't know what else to say. It has tree houses, which is cool. I've literally never seen another treehouse coloring book before. Are there other ones? Yeah, I'm sure. Could I have just possibly missed it? Absolutely. But I have never seen a treehouse coloring book before. So if that's something that you've been craving, or you just wanted to pick up a more unique book, this could be a cool option, because I feel like there's plenty of, for example, of like floral themed books out there. Let's be honest, I own at least a couple. So it's always nice to see something that is more unique. And kudos to the artist for creating 40 images of different tree houses. I didn't even know that there's so many different varieties of tree houses. But I also never had a tree house as a kid. So maybe that's why my imagination of tree houses is just stunted. But again, my apologies. A whole lot of caffeine today. It's just been a busy day. It's been a busy day. Moving on to another book. And this is from February 15th, and it's called Mandalas Spring. Again, that's what I mean. Like, is it just me, or this title should have been like Spring Mandalas? I'm just being nitpicky here, but to me it just seems odd. But anyways, there's a book of spring mandalas, and it is white backgrounds. There's no black backgrounds here. And there are some like repeating patterns. Some are more of that Camellia Angelkova style, as I talked about, where it's kind of like a mandala around, but there's an actual image in the center. So it's both. It's definitely more detailed than the, what was the other book called? Like In Circle, I think. This one is definitely more detailed, but it's nothing crazy. I do have to say the line work does not appear to be very thick. So I don't know if alcohol markers would be the best choice for this book, but it's also like the preview is quite small. So it just could be a misjudgment on my part. But based on the back cover of the book, the line work is not super thick, because I feel like that's one of the great things about Camelia's work, right, is that her line work is usually quite thick, so you can use alcohol markers and not be too concerned about bleed out, right, outside of the lines. So maybe just take a look at that, you know, just make sure that the line work is sufficiently large for the alcohol markers that you would hope to use, assuming that you want to use alcohol markers. Again, could be an assumption on my end. But let's see, is it as typical 40 images? Oh no, there's actually 50 images in here. Oh my. There are 50 images in here, and they're single-sided again. And yeah, 50 pages. Our book not only provides you with a nest of rectangles and circles that has the elements of springtime, like beautiful flowers, birds, and butterflies, but it also lets you dive into the seasonal spirit. Is anybody in the seasonal spirit? I have to say it's quite chilly still here, so I'm still not fully in spring mode. But if you live in a nicer climate, you lucky duck, you lucky duck. But again, this book looks interesting. If you've enjoyed the Camellia Angelkova books, maybe this is another option that would be of interest to you. Or if you wanted something a little bit different from those books, this could be an option to check out. I'm trying to see what is brick and what is flower in this picture. But let's see what else I have. The next time is called Tea Cozy. Again, what is with the title? But it has white backgrounds, and it just has either people drinking tea, or like tea surrounded by other foods, or tea next to like a pile of books. So it's definitely a cozy looking book, because at least for me, I associate tea with like being comfortable and cozy, maybe reading a book. You know, that could be a unique opinion. For all I know, you might think I'm a complete weirdo for associating warm tea with like comfort and being cozy. I don't know. But it's an interesting book. Some of the images remind me of my Jessica Mazurkovic's book that I have that's called like, I think it's called Happy Hygge, or like Hygge Coloring or something like that. But it's a book by Jessica Mazurkovic's, and it has images that are kind of similar to the ones in here. And I really like my Jessica Mazurkovic's book. I don't pull it out all year round just because I'm mainly associated with colder weather. But if you were not able to get your hands on that one, because it is an older book, maybe take a look at this one. I feel like that they're kind of similar in the motif and a little bit in the execution. And let's see if there's 40 or 50 pages in this one. Oh, 35. They're throwing me for a loop here. I just assumed everything had 40 pages. My sincerest apologies. But this book was released February 22nd, so it is also one of the older ones. And so far has 1 rating on Amazon, and it's 5 stars. So cool. I'm glad somebody is liking it. It looks really, really sweet. The name, again, just kind of throws me for a loop because I feel like the words are just randomly tossed out. But also, again, just being too picky. The next one is kind of a weird one, but I also love it. It's from February 16th, and it's called Cat Life. And it's about cats. It's about cats. It's super funny looking. Like the cover has a cute cat with a wand, and she's wearing a little coat. It is kind of chibi styled, so it's definitely less detailed than some of the other books. There are white backgrounds, and there's some horizontal and some vertical images. Like I can see there's a Halloween themed one. It looks like there's potentially a Christmas themed one. There's also 2 cats making sushi. So it's definitely a really, really sweet one. But I would only recommend it if you really like cats for obvious reasons. But if you are a cat lover, or again, you just like a good chibi kind of weird book, this one's there. This one's available. But definitely really good for alcohol markers, really large areas, not crazy detailed. But you can also easily use your colored pencils. Yeah, I think it's sweet, but it's definitely, to me, very chibi looking. So if you're like me and you're not the biggest fan of chibi, which I've mentioned before, it's just not really my cup of tea, which, you know, if you like it, all the power to you. It's just not for moi. But yeah, if you are like me and you're not the biggest fan of chibi, then maybe this is not the book for you. But do still give it a shot, you know, check it out. Maybe it will surprise you. So see, like now, how am I supposed to like color all the way in there? I'm gonna go off camera and see if I can break the spine of this bad boy. So I was able to break the spine a little bit. I guess, yeah, okay. That's okay, I guess. But that's what I mean. I wish it was kind of framed off, which I did talk about in my full flip of the book. And I have to say, kind of a little tangent, but there's some mixed reviews of this book. Some people are saying that they really like it, and then some people are saying that they're really disappointed in it. I like it. Is it my favorite book? No. But I kind of go in more detail with that in the full flip, and then obviously I'm not planning on returning it. You know, obviously I'm coloring in it. So yeah, that's kind of my quick 2 cents about this one. Moving on to a book that was released February 16th of this year, and it's called Zodiac. And it has images for, you know, all the zodiac signs. So if you're into astrology, maybe this is a cool one for you. I've never really been one for astrology. Just, I don't know why. I mean, I know my sign and everything, but I'm not somebody that like reads horoscopes and such, mainly because I also don't really have access to them, but different topic. So let's see what kind of previews we have. So there's a combination of white and black background. And, sorry, there's like mixed images here and I get confused. But yeah, there is white and black background. So you have some of the images that just have like the symbol for the sign. So for example, you can see the Virgo one, you can see the Taurus one, but then there's also images of like girls that would represent that sign. So it's definitely interesting and it looks beautiful. I think this would be a really interesting one, especially the combination of the white and black background. But obviously maybe only if you're somebody who enjoys zodiac signs. But I guess you don't have to be. If you like the images, you like the images, right? So take my statement with a grain of salt. But it's an interesting one. I'm trying to think. I think I've seen some like zodiac sign books before. I feel like zodiac signs became quite big in the last couple of years. So there's definitely been a bigger supply of astrology themed or focused items, but nothing wrong with a new addition to the collection, right? So also, if you own any of these books, I would love to hear your feedback, because my statements are obviously like first opinions based on Amazon images and Amazon descriptions. So if you have any of these books, I would love, 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 love to hear your opinion and feedback. You know, how does the line work? How is the paper? I think it's Amazon printed if I'm not mistaken, but still, if you have any of these books, would love, love to hear feedback. Moving on to another like chibi themed looking book. It's called Tea Time and it's from February 16th. And it has really adorable little animals, like I could see a little cat, a little bunny, little dog, and they're just in teacups surrounded by cupcakes, a little slice of cake. So it's definitely a very, very cutesy book. So if you enjoy little cutesy tea time, adorable little animals, if that sounds like something that you would enjoy, you know, run, don't walk. It's a sweet one. I have to say, again, this would be amazing for alcohol markers because there's some really large spaces. The line work does look to be thicker than the other book that I mentioned. So this could be a cool one. Let's see how many images there are in here. There are 30. I really wonder why they have such a range of 30 or 50. I wonder, because they all have been like basically the same price. So I wonder if it's something to do with the artist. I don't know. If you know, let us know down below. What's the gossip? You know, what is happening? Who doesn't love a little gossip? Especially when it comes to coloring, right? Sign me right up. I was messaging with somebody, it's such a tangent, but I was messaging with somebody on Instagram one time. And we were just talking about like new releases. So like, oh, are you getting this book? Like, what did you think of this book? And my boyfriend was with me and he was like, so you just like talk about coloring books? And I'm like, yeah. But he didn't really understand. But I'm like, well, you have hobbies. Like you talk about your friends about your hobbies, right? And he's like, yeah, it's like, it's the same thing. And then he was like, oh, like, okay, like it makes sense. Because he likes watches. And I can't imagine having a full-blown discussion about a watch. But I can easily have a full-blown discussion about a coloring book. I mean, I do it all the time, right? So to each their own. Moving on to a book from February 20th, and it's called Cottage. And it has all white backgrounds, and it's very spring, summer. I don't see like any winter pictures, at least in the previews. And it's cottages, like greenery, flowers, woods, bird cages, cats, butterflies. So very country, like out in the country. It looks really sweet. It a little bit reminds me of, gosh, what is her name? She does those amazing scenery books. Teresa Goodridge. Can't believe I forgot her name. I love her stuff. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Teresa Goodridge's style, but not at the same time, but in the sense that it's a lot of scenery, a lot of like benches outside kind of pictures. So it's an interesting one, but definitely not exactly like Teresa Goodridge, but to me kind of similar. So if that sounds appealing to you, do give it a look. And let's see how many images this one has. It's probably a random number. 40. Okay. Gosh, I'm sorry I didn't mention the number for some of the other books because I just assumed that all of them had 40. So I guess I learned. I will mention from now on the number of pages that each book has. So let's move on to the next one. And this one is from February 15th, and it's called Tiny World. It is a combination of black and white backgrounds, and this one is really interesting. It kind of reminds me of their book called, I think it's called Floating Islands, or I think that's what the name of the book is. And I actually really like that one. I've talked about it in one of my other videos, and it is on my wish list. It's just a really cool book. This one kind of reminds me of it. So it's Tiny World, so as promised. So for example, there is a picture of a mushroom and there's like a little house underneath it. Like it's actually like chiseled into the bottom of the mushroom. So there's also one about pirates. So it's definitely very unique images. There's one that's like an open book and there's something coming out of the book. So again, a great range of images. Love that it's not the same thing for 30, 40 images, however many there are in this book, who knows? So it's a cool one. It's a cool one. If you have the Floating Islands and you wanted something similar, I would recommend checking this one out. Or if it sounds of interest and you haven't checked out Floating Islands, I would highly recommend that one as well. It's a little bit older, but it still came out either in 2022 or like end of 2021. It's still one of their newer ones, but that one is a cool one, and so is this one. I have to say I still prefer Floating Islands. Just something about that book really caught my eye, but I might end up adding this one to my wish list as well. Let's see how many pages, since it's such a mystery. 40. So there are 40 images in here, per usual, single-sided, no duplicates. And then moving on to the last book. Oh, I guess this is the oldest one so far. Okay, it's from January 7th, and it's called Spring. And it has images of spring, as promised. It has definitely a variety of images. Probably not the best with alcohol markers. Some of them are quite detailed. So there are images of flowers, as foreseen. You know, when it comes to spring, there's also like a woman holding a bicycle, and she has like a pretty summer dress and a beautiful summer hat. There is a picture of like a picnic. So it's definitely a range of images, but it looks really pretty. Again, I think you would be able to use alcohol markers maybe on some parts of it, but some parts of it are definitely too detailed for alcohol markers. So if you are a religious alcohol marker user, maybe not this one. I mean, maybe you could. Maybe permanent markers, but some of the details are definitely too small to use with like an Ohuhu marker and not see bleed out. But it looks interesting. Will I be getting this one? Probably not, but that's fine. Let's see, there's 40 illustrations, and it says flowers are blooming, birds are singing, spring is coming, and this spring coloring book will make a perfect gift for yourself as well as your loved ones. Gosh, how do they know that we just love to get gifts for ourselves? They just know, right? I love nothing better than a gift purchase from you to you. But anyways, those are all of the books that I wanted to talk about today. Probably by the time that this video goes up, they're going to have more new releases. It's definitely a company that produces a lot of coloring books, but honestly, I haven't heard any negative feedback from anybody. And I do watch a lot of coloring videos. I do, probably an unhealthy amount, but I haven't heard any negative feedback. You know, obviously, like, these books are not for everybody, and people do mention that, and I don't think that's a negative feedback. I think a negative feedback would be is when you thought something would be just perfect for you and then it came in and it was bad quality. To me, that's a negative feedback, not being like, you know, just not for me. So considering how affordable they are, how many different books they have, and you know, the range of shipping, because they are available on Amazon, right? So if you have an Amazon where you live, you can get it shipped to you. So definitely check out Coco Wayo if you haven't before. They have a lot of books. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want to stay up to date on new releases, I do these videos quite often. And as promised, I will make another one quite soon that focuses on other artists. So for example, there are some upcoming releases and new releases from Creative Haven that I will talk about. I think there's some Jade Summer new releases. There's definitely a range. There's some Demita Victoria, Coloring Book Cafe. So if that sounds of interest, do subscribe. We have a great time over here. And I'm still questioning these bricks, but I'll definitely continue working it. I'll continue blending, and hopefully you will see this in my completed pages for April, because there's no way I'm going to finish it this month. But thank you so much for joining. Again, this is the new Hannah Carlson book. If you want to check it out, there's a full flip on my channel, and then also all of the books that I mentioned will be linked down below. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.